Tucker Carlson, violence is already beginning.
Welcome to Tucker Carlson tonight. So you can question whether Joe Biden actually got, what's the number, 81 million votes in the last presidential election, and actually later in the show we will. But even if you accept that there actually were people who voted for Joe Biden voluntarily, it's hard to believe that many of them got anything like what they expected in return for their vote. Joe Biden, not to be dark about it, just to be honest, Joe Biden has turned out to be an unparalleled disaster. That's not an overstatement. In fact, it's a generous assessment. Our country has never seen anything like what Joe Biden has done. Barely 15 months into his first term as president, Joe Biden has crashed the stock market, provoked a food shortage, opened our borders to millions of illegal aliens, presided over historic rises in murder, inflation, and drug ODs, as well as a corresponding plunge in overall life expectancy. And then, because all of that wasn't punitive enough for a country as racist as ours, he dragged the United States into an entirely pointless war with a nuclear-armed power on behalf of a corrupt foreign government that once bribed his drug-addicted son. And those are the big, easy-to-measure crimes he has committed.
Okay, it's been 1 minute and he hasn't mentioned black people yet. What's going on? I'm surprised. This will somehow surely lead back to how black people are responsible, but like, we'll see.
Permanent looting, Latin American levels of wealth inequality, tampons in the boys' bathroom, $7 a gallon gasoline, unprecedented race hatred, homelessness, mental illness, suicide, and above it all, across the Pacific Ocean, a Chinese government that's laughing out loud as we destroy ourselves for no reason. That's some of what Joe Biden has done so far. How will any Democrat outside West Hollywood ever get elected in this country again? In a fully functioning democracy, that would be an honest question. But Biden has a plan. Torque up the fear, ban complaining, criminalize the opposition.
Dude, this is awesome. Dude, to live in Tucker Carlson's like brain that's full of holes is such a unique experience. Like, where is this happening? Who's he talking to?
Joe Biden, the president of the United States, told us that people who don't support him are the single biggest security threat that faces this country. Not al-Qaeda, not the Chinese military, not the Mexican drug cartels, not even Russia.
Dude, I love that. You know what Tucker Carlson just did? By the way, he does this every night, and he does this so perfectly. Tucker Carlson is my Twitter quote retweeters, okay? Here's why. I'll say something like, oh man, the Nintendo Joy-Con is the worst invention of all time. And then someone will quote retweet me and go, oh, really? Can't believe this fucking piece of shit said that when slavery was the worst invention of all time. And that's exactly what Tucker Carlson is doing right now to Joe Biden. He's like, wow, Joe Biden said like people who disagree with me are America's biggest threat. Not China, not Al-Qaeda. Wow. It's like, dude, what are you supposed to always be like, okay, Jack, I'm going to do a list right now. I'm going to do a listicle right now. I'm going to do all of America's biggest villains, Jack. He's doing that. He's doing the fucking like mentally ill Twitter uncharitable fucking quote retweet shit. But to Joe Biden, which by the way, I'm sure he didn't even say that.
As Joe Biden put it, quote, MAGA crowd is really the most extreme political organization that's existed in American history. The most extreme.
He's right.
The worst.
If you said that, he's right, by the way.
Worse than the Nazis. Worse than the anarchists who murdered an American president. Worse than anyone ever. That's you. You're an existential threat to the country you were born in. It's hard to believe Joe Biden said that, but he did.
What do you mean worse than the Nazis? Homie, you're a Nazi. You can't turn around and be like, oh my God, I can't believe he's saying that about MAGA. Are they worse than the Nazis? It's like, well, you're the Nazi, so, you know, it's kind of up there, side by side. Still not watching Fox News on stream, though. I don't watch Fox News. I just see it in this stream. I had no idea who the fuck this was before the stream. Still not watching Fox News on stream, though. My friend, just because you're not watching Fox News does not change the reality. Like, I'm highlighting Tucker Carlson or platforming him. He is literally the most famous news broadcaster in the country. Let that sink in for a moment. If you're not from America, I want you to understand. This man and his psychotic screed has a higher view count than any other news broadcaster, okay?
Samuel Alito is a 72-year-old legal scholar whose views would have been considered ordinary, mainstream, maybe 5 years ago. Now, according to Joe Biden, he is a dangerous extremist.
Yeah, dude, Samuel Alito, notorious for having views that were mainstream. He's never had a mainstream position. What the fuck are you talking about? Especially on this issue, just there are facts that we can look at. There are numerous studies conducted on this that we can look at. And no, his perspective on the matter about overturning Roe v. Wade is literally in the minority. They are not mainstream positions, no matter how hard Republicans have tried to make them mainstream.
What's the result? Well, today, Alito had to cancel a public appearance because there were too many threats on his life.
Aww.
Each one of those threats is, in fact, a threat to us and our country. You don't want to live in a country where Supreme Court justices cower in fear for their lives.
Yeah, only fucking immigrants crossing the border. Those are the only people who are susceptible and deserve to be threatened. And also be victim to institutional violence on a daily basis that I justify at the Tucker Carlson White Power Hour. Fuck you, dude. This motherfucker's like, oh man, I hate this. Like, I can't go to a fucking public setting because the decisions that I have as a God King lifetime appointee to the Supreme Court of the United States will impact literally hundreds of millions of people. Like at least 150 million plus. Like directly. Oh no. What will this motherfucker do? Like, dude, he should be so excited at the prospect of being able to fucking breathe and not have to eat everything through a tube for the rest of his goddamn life. And Tucker Carlson over here is like, oh my God, I can't believe it. He had to cancel a public appearance. Yeah, well, he doesn't have Secret Service. That's right. Supreme Court, the justices don't have Secret Service. So, of course, they have to cancel public appointments. This is what it is. Should have thought about that before he fucking, I don't know, decided to make this, decided to be like the leading presiding judge in the opinions put out about Roe v. Wade, about overturning Roe v. Wade.
But under Joe Biden, the DOJ is too beholden to the mob to say a word about it. You can't offend Antifa. They're a vital constituency. Here's the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, appearing today to tell us what he's worried about most. Watch.
Consistent with the president's executive order on tackling the climate crisis at home and abroad, we are issuing a comprehensive environmental justice enforcement strategy. Communities of color, indigenous communities, and low-income communities often bear the brunt of the harm caused by environmental crime, pollution, and climate change.
Wait, what? He's mad at this? Sometimes I have a hard time looking at Tucker Carlson's White Power Hour and understanding what the issue is, because half the time he just shows like Democrats at their most based. Like, they're never like this. I wish the Democratic Party was more aggressive with shit like this. Like, whenever I watch Tucker Carlson, I get a better perspective on the Democratic Party. I start liking the Democratic Party. It's very weird. And the reason why I say this is because, like, I don't understand how you can watch that. And if you don't have, like, brain disease, like severe mental illness in the form of, like, being a conservative, how do you look at that and go, fuck that? What a terrible thing that guy is saying. You know what I mean? Like, wow, I can't believe he said, like, we need to tackle the environmental crimes that impact black and brown communities harder because no one cares about, you know, dumping pollutants into their waters and shit. And you're like, can you believe he said that? What's going on? America used to be a nation where you could give smallpox-ridden blankets to the indigenous population. That's what us, the legacy Americans, did. And now you mean to tell me that we can't be fracking in black and brown neighborhoods? What's going on?
Well, of course, the greatest threat is global warming, which, by the way, is racist, like so many other weather patterns.
That's not what he said, dude. Come on. That's not what he said. Oh, God, he's so good at fucking cutting propaganda. Dude, you can't cut YouTube videos about like fucking melting your ball sack with like red light because microplastics and pollutants are in the water and it's like forcibly feminizing men and lowering fucking T levels, and then turn around and literally fucking, when the dude is addressing that, go, oh, it's just racist. What's going on? It's just racist, huh? Like weather patterns are racist now? A laughable notion. Like, that's not what he said, you fucking idiot. They're saying environmental injustices are more likely to occur on black and brown people in black and brown neighborhoods, in poor neighborhoods, because people don't give a shit. People don't even give a shit about rich neighborhoods. We're feeding all Americans that same garbage. So God forbid we care about fucking black and brown people.
Most afraid of tonight. And of course, in order to fix global warming, which is existential, whatever that means.
What does existential mean? Existential, whatever that means. I mean, what are words? This is exactly the problem with public education in America. We need to abolish public education. Back in the day, a child could go free and be free and prosper without having to learn words like existential or threat. The only threat that a child knew back then was the threat of having to read newspapers. That's why I always tell you, homeschool your children. Don't let them learn. Let them learn the true values of America, which is do your own research on Facebook.
A left-wing activist group has now published what it says are the home addresses of Justices Amy Coney Barrett, John Roberts, Samuel Alito, Brett Kavanaugh, Clarence Thomas, and Neil Gorsuch.
I don't know. Things are getting very interesting. I am obviously, as a public figure, not a fan of having public figures have their home addresses blasted. But then again, I'm a fucking dumbass switchermer and not a Supreme Court of the United States justice who has a lifetime appointment to destroy people's lives. You know what I mean? So, of course, I'm going to say this is not just a public figure, but a public servant. Okay? Things are becoming very interesting. What's going on?
We must rise up to force accountability using a diversity of tactics. What are those? Well, you can imagine they already include...
Is this it? Is that the diversity of tactics? If there's just such pussies, then... Dude, this is really funny. I think ContraPoints tweeted about this actually and was like, this queen was so on the money. Every day has felt like this since this person was caught. And like, she's right. She kind of is right. Like, this person has been dunked on 1,000,000 times over, except like also she was kind of right about what was about to happen. Yeah, this is brilliant by Natalie. They were right. This was a proportionate emotional reaction that accurately anticipated how the following decade would go. Yeah, it's like cringe or whatever, right? Oh man, you showed emotion, lol, cringe, haha, gay, we got you. But also like, it's the appropriate reaction. I feel bad.
But conservative Supreme Court justices, yeah, they deserve what they get. And so, of course, under these conditions, violence...
Dude, that's crazy. Remember, by the way, Tucker Carlson, who his words have impact, given that he's the most popular news broadcaster. And Tucker Carlson justifies the actual state-sponsored violence that you just watched happen to that 16-year-old trans person. Tucker Carlson justifies that every fucking night. But to his supporters, he turns around and says, spray paint and graffiti, abortion saves lives, being written on the side of what? Some fucking church. That's real violence, because that's how fascists operate. They can kill you, they can brutalize you, they can use the monopoly of violence that the state has against you, no matter how marginalized you are. And that's justifiable, but hey, you turn around and you fucking spit back. You turn around and you even like accidentally, when you are defending yourself and you hit the responsible party, that's real violence. That's unacceptable. Insane. For the record, for hundreds of millions of women that will no longer be able to have an abortion, a medical procedure, the overturning of Roe v. Wade is state-sponsored violence. That's it. And the retaliation is what? Abortion saves lives being spray painted around next to a Catholic church? That's nothing. But conservatives get away with that shit all the time. That's how they were able to justify state-sponsored violence perpetrated against black people in the aftermath of the protests that started because of state-sponsored violence against black people. They said, oh, buildings are being harmed, so you deserve even more violence in that circumstance.
Abortion lunatics just vandalized a church in Colorado. The same thing has happened to a pro-life counseling center in Portland.
There's a pro-life counseling center in Portland. It's like one area where there shouldn't be. What the fuck? It's like having an abortion clinic it's like being the last abortion clinic in Missouri, That's legitimately surprising. How the fuck are they in business? What the fuck? Bro, this is our territory. Get the fuck out of here. This is our turf, homie. Fuck you.
Remember when liberals used to oppose violence? They did. Give peace a chance. It's hard to believe there was ever a time that was true. Maybe they were just pretending. In any case, they're now for it. Violence is their religion, here and abroad. You're seeing it on display right in front of you, whether you've noticed or not, in Eastern Europe. So rather than trying to save the civilian population of Eastern Europe, Joe Biden is pushing for a hot war against Russia. In fact, he's already engaged in a hot war against Russia, and so are we, whether we knew it or not. New York Times just ran this headline, quote, U.S. intelligence is helping Ukraine kill Russian...
Wait, what? How? Bro, I stepped outside the pee? How did we flip the script from Supreme Court being criticized as violence to Joe Biden as killing Russians? What is going on, dude? Oh my God. How did this happen? No, literally, how did this I need to understand what happened?
So rather than trying to save the civilian population of Eastern Europe, Joe Biden is pushing for a hot war against Russia. In fact...
What? I can't. Why do I watch Tucker Carlson? I'm not finishing this video.